Welcome to a message from Mom. I'm Bonnie. Feel free to call me Mom. And every week I upload an uplifting message, an encouraging message for anyone who misses their mom, who needs a mom, or who's just looking to be encouraged. This video is a request that we have to talk about grief and grieving. So that's what we're going to be encouraging each other about in this video, is the process of grief and grieving. So we're in this really difficult, weird time. We're in a pandemic. It's everywhere. And we're experiencing all kinds of losses, all kinds of disruption. And so I just want to chat with you a little bit about what that is. I want to encourage you that you're not alone and that what you're going through is real. You're going through something very, very real. So at the end of the day, what we grieve over isn't as important as the fact that we're grieving. All of our losses are things that we need to be kind of paying attention to and saying, you know what, some losses are really, really big and important. Like we've lost a person in our life through various means. Maybe we can't chat with them anymore. Maybe they're gone. Maybe they've passed away. Maybe they've moved. I don't know. It's just a lot of loss. Some of our losses may seem a little bit smaller, like I can't do the things that I used to be able to do or contribute in the ways that I used to be able to. I feel like I'm walking through life underwater. Whatever it is that you're grieving, I want you to know that it's really normal. That it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to say, I need a minute just to process what it is I'm actually experiencing. Sometimes we can be going through a ton of grief and we actually aren't even aware of it. We think it's something else. We think we're just really tired all the time, or we just are really testy, or we cry easily. I'm a crier. I cry easily. So I know how that feels. And sometimes it's okay to just check in. Just check in with yourself and go, hey, what is this that I am experiencing? And that it's okay to take time to look inside and say, oh my gosh, this hurts. This loss is bigger than something that I can just be okay about. How do we keep living a normal life in the midst of grief? We've got this big hole in our life now, whether it's from someone passing away or whether it comes from the long list of other losses that we've been tallying up over time that maybe we haven't paid enough attention to or didn't realize was affecting us the way that it is. Everybody does this differently. Everybody grieves in their own way, which makes it really unique and sometimes really a challenge to be able to, hey, there's that person over there. They're going through something, but I don't feel like they do. I feel this way. I feel about situations the way I feel. I have my own perspective. I have my own things to grieve. And so in that way, it's really, really important to understand that what you do, your perspective and how you feel about it is important. It matters that you're feeling the way that you are. It matters that you are going through a process of loss and grieving that is unique to you. You're the only one who can do this your way. You're allowed to be in pain. You're allowed to feel that pain. And the funny thing about grief is it comes to us in waves. I like to talk about it like a wave of grief. If you think about a wave in the ocean, it's bigger than you. It's coming at you. You can't stop it. You can't do anything about it. You just have to let it come and wash over you and let it go, right? And grief comes to us like that, in the worst timing, in the worst ways. You could be going about your normal everyday life, trying to get back on track, and all of a sudden this wave will come and just right over your head, right? And like you're swimming, you're like, oh, this is like, I can't do normal life right now when I'm in the midst of this wave. I can't just, pretend it's all okay and keep having this conversation or whatever. A few years ago, my mom passed away, and it was really awful. And it was really close to Christmas. So a few weeks after the funeral, we're sort of sitting around the table, myself and my family and my kids, who were young adults at the time. And I think my daughter asked for a cookie. And I, in my brilliance, decided I'm going to hand you the whole cookie jar. And we were just trying to have, I don't know, a games night I think we were doing. And she asked for this cookie, and I brought the cookie jar close to her, and I dropped it. And it broke. It was just a broken cookie jar. And my daughter's reaction was to just sob, and then I'm sobbing because she's sobbing, and and it wasn't about the cookies or the broken glass or anything like that. I mean, I could make more cookies, right? But she was just crying and crying and crying, and I said to her, "You're not crying about the cookie jar. You're crying because this hurts, because this is hard, and that's why you're crying." And it was like such an overwhelming moment. We're both just kind of sobbing, and Dad's in there just kind of like, what's going on, and her big brother's sitting there just kind of going, oh, this is a moment. And we just had to have the moment. You can't fight it. You can't be like, all right, everybody stop feeling the way you're feeling right now and just get back to real life. No. There's no stopping it. It's a wave. It's coming. And you got to live through it. And you can and you will live through it. And it's going to go. And that's the beautiful thing about grief. We're not still sitting at that table crying over that broken cookie jar. We're not still, sad. We're not still, living in the wave all the time. But we know that those waves can come. I find them incredibly overwhelming. There are times where you can be in the middle of a conversation with friends. There are times, oh my gosh, there's times. I was in a supermarket one time, and I started crying in the meat department. There was a reason for it. It had everything to do with like my mom and the meat department. It all made sense in my head, but I guarantee you, to all the strangers that were walking by me while I was ugly crying at the grocery store, it didn't make any sense. But I had to be real and true to who I was in that moment. And who I was in that moment was somebody who was just crying in the supermarket because my mom was gone. And that's just the way it was. And even now when I'm thinking about it, I mean, those feelings get evoked a little bit, My eyes are getting a little like teary thinking about those, because those emotions are real and they're mine and they don't have to make sense to anybody else. I did have someone with me. My husband was there. He didn't say anything to me. He just put his arms around me and probably waved off a few curious onlookers like, is she okay? And he's like, not really, but yeah, she's okay. In the end, those moments of grief are really, really, really healing. Oh my gosh, look at me getting all emotional. You'll find that throughout most of these videos, I'm afraid. I told you at some point in time, I'm a crier, and that's just how I process different emotions, and that's okay, because that's me. It doesn't have to be the way you do it, but it is the way I do it. And so I'm just going to be really real about it and share it with you. The thing about those waves of grief and letting them wash over you and being in that moment and just saying, okay, it's okay that I'm not okay, is really healthy. It's a super healthy. I know it feels terrible, but if we actually spend the minute to go, oh, wait a minute. Is this a wave of grief? Am I in something? Am I just being taken over right now? Okay, I'm just going to ride this out. I'm just going to let me be me and feel what I feel and let it come and let it go. It's a really healthy thing. The bummer part of it is that it can take a while. and it can jump you when you don't expect it, and it can jump you a lot later on. Like some people are like, oh, well, that happened like weeks ago, or that happened like a year ago or 2 years ago. Aren't you over it now? That get over it idea is garbage. You don't have to get over anything. Grieving is about the process of understanding what happened in the past, how it formed you, how it informed you, how it made you who you are, whether it's a person, a relationship, a circumstance, whatever. And it's sorting it all out. And then being able to say, okay, so who am I now? That this grief has happened, this loss is there. Who am I now? And grief helps us to understand that. What's the new normal for me in light of what's changed, in light of disruption, in light of unwanted change? And that's what we're grieving. We don't want those things or those people or those circumstances to be gone. And so how do we reconcile who we were when we had those things and circumstances and people and who we are now? Grief helps us to do that. Grief helps us to experience the real life of change, the real life of settling and growing up into this new normal. But it's never about getting over it. It's never about closure or all those really harsh things that just hurt when people say them to you. And that leads me to another little thing I just wanted to talk about. If you're personally looking for a way to support and encourage someone who's going through a season of grief, here's just a couple of things just to keep in mind, and something that you may need for yourself as well, from people around you who care about you and want to nurture you in times of grief. I'm gonna just say, if you know someone who's grieving and maybe you recognize when they're in the middle of that big wave that comes, say as little as possible. You can't fix it. There's nothing wrong with it. They're not broken. They're going through something natural and normal. You're going through something natural and normal. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You just need somebody there to hold your hand, put an arm around you, give you a hug, tell you that they care about you, cry with you, and just ride the wave with your friend. Ride the wave. Just be love to that person. If that person is you, then just love yourself unconditionally in that moment where it's all coming over. Whoosh, here comes the wave. Just be love to yourself and to others unconditionally. Don't try to fix it. You're not broken. Don't try to rush the wave and get to the end. There is no end. There's just the new normal. It's okay to be grieving. It's okay to be lost in that wave, because we know that that wave's going to come to an end, and we are going to use it in a way that's going to help us to figure out who we are now and today, taking the best of the past and bringing it with us into the future. I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. I hope that you felt some kind of encouragement and hope. I do encourage you to leave a comment for me about any ideas that you have that you would like to be encouraged about. Anything that comes to mind at all you want to share with me. I cherish those comments. I read every single one. Thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being here today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.